Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good Monday morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here. We're getting ready for another exciting week at work and the outdoors and just living here in the Florida Panhandle. Appreciate your viewership here on the show and really appreciate your support of all of our sponsors and all the new sponsors we've been blessed with this spring. Let's take a look at our weather, brought to us by Haney Technical Center and all the various programs they have to offer out there. They've got a new welding shop. We're going to go check it out pretty soon. It's going to be a high today of 82, low 63, and the water temperature staying around 73 degrees. So be aware of that. It's been really nice. Now, the week forecast for the weather, you're looking at sort of a mixed bag. You know, remember last week we just had a lot of rain, and it reflects on a lot of the things we had to do last week. This week, the middle of the week looks pretty good right now. Today's about a 40% chance, but the middle of the week, Wednesday and Thursday looks okay. So we'll just have to deal with it, but just be aware of it. Always, know your surroundings as far as the storms and all coming through. Let's take a look at. We don't have the river readings today, but we'll take a look at our Monday moon forecast. Today, we have a new moon starting tonight. It's always exciting to start a new moon, and it's going to start waxing up this week and all the way on through this week and next week. It's going to be reflected in our tides as we look at our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. They're located right here on 23rd Street. Our tide chart, we have good strong tides. We're getting out of those deep tides we had this weekend. Good strong tides. We have a high tide this morning at 10:21 and a low tide at 8:42 tonight. Good 1.6 foot range on that. Okay, and the marine forecast today will be south-southeast at 5 to 10. I've tried to call Captain Blair Morgan, couldn't get Blair this morning. Maybe we'll call him again tomorrow morning. So let's go ahead and take our first break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I received an email from a friend the other day wanting to know if anyone has a good saltwater trolling motor. He's getting into fishing, and he's really interested in it. So if you know anyone who wants to sell a good saltwater trolling motor, well, I'll tell you who the guy is. You can call him yourself. It's Keith Bland. He's the principal there at Arnold High School. Keith is getting back into fishing, and he wants a good saltwater trolling motor. So give him a call if you know somebody has one. All right. Now, let's look at some pictures. We've got some good pictures. I don't have a lot of them. We just get the week started with a couple of pictures from last week. I want to reiterate. This is Ashley Woodrick that shot my middle granddaughter that shot that big old gobbler with Michael Harris last week off Highway 77 up there. It's still in Bay County. But anyway, it's a great story on that. I told you the story. That gobbler is now in second place on C&G Sporting Goods, and we had a good story on that. Thursday of last week, Whitney prepared that, and we had a big meal off that gobbler. And she had made turkey pot pie. And I actually made a video for making it, but it's really, really good. So they're going to do that whole show. It might be this weekend on the hunt itself and hold the family having that. And it took Whitney most of the day to make a turkey pot pie, but it was really good. Okay, let's go to our next picture. I showed this picture too also last week, but again, this is that 55-pound king, and it was caught, this is supposedly the new county pier record. It was called Eric Cross, and it was gaffed by Austin Plummer, and it caught about 4:45, and last week was a great week on catching kings. A couple of announcements here. This is E.O. Wilson Live Feeder Center. Clyde Butcher, well-known author and photographer, really takes a lot of pictures, and it's going to be a Saturday, May 2nd at 11:30. If you want to put that on your calendar, about the Biofeeder Center speaking. The catfish tournaments now, we want to have that first one coming up this weekend. This first round, 4 rounds. First round is going to be Liberty County at the Bristol boat landing, and this money goes to the senior center up there. A great cause that they fish it for up there. So be aware of the Florida Catfish Trail. Really neat idea. Also, the Mexico Beach Ling Ding tournament, it's underway now. It is last weekend, this coming weekend, and the following weekend. The Ling Ding down at Mexico Beach. Check out the Mexico Beach Marina, and that's always a fun tournament. I fished that tournament when it first came out. That was a lot of fun. Okay. Greg Pennington, still catching Spanish mackerel, folks. This is Greg Pennington, and catching some the other day. Greg watches the show on a regular basis, and his engineer. Appreciate him watching the show. I have James Weslowski on here a lot. Well, this is his son catching, following his dad's footsteps. This is Ethan fishing off the pier there. So that's a couple of good pictures to get us started, and I had a good week on there. Now, I mentioned, last week we had Fred Myers on the show. I got a lot of good comments, several good comments on Fred being on the show and his willingness to just pass out some of his fishing tips. And, one of them just really stuck with us. His ability, and his number one tip was the ability to cast a long way away from the boat. And Fred and I've known Fred a long time, and he's been saying, he didn't just start saying that. He's always said that. In fact, after the show, he and I talked probably half an hour out in the parking lot, and just talked about red fishing in general and fishing in general, and there's certain things you can do and how different it is fishing in Louisiana as it is in Florida, where you use a bait caster in Louisiana because you sort of flip it out there, and here in Florida Panhandle, you really got to get it out there. So it was interesting to have Fred on the show. I always like to have some experts, and Fred is definitely an expert, to have won 9 boats, and those boats are valued in a 5-year span. Those boats are valued like $32,000 a boat. That's not, and to win 3 tournaments, 3 Angler of the Year tournaments on Redfish Circuit in that period of time is amazing. So he is an expert, and I appreciate him taking time to come on the show. With that being said, I've talked about this before. Anytime some of you captains want to come on the show, you always, from day one, I say you have an open invitation to come on here and talk about fishing, talk about your business, and taking people and some tips that you like to do and share. I always love to have you all on. I have Captain Mitch Coleman on a regular basis send us that weekly report, tell us how they catch them over Mexico Beach. Captain Justin Leake's been on a regular basis, and Captain Matt Smith. And I've talked to several captains, and a lot of y'all want to come on, but sometimes y'all get so busy. But it just, you have an open invitation. Just give me a call, and we'll put you on the schedule. Okay? Now, speaking of that catfish tournament, with high water, I always think about that's high water. I always think about catfishing with trot lines and set hooks, and we did that as a kid and all, and it's just exciting. It's a great time of year to start doing it. But I want to know if any of y'all out there are using those fish bites for bait. And if you are, it'll be interesting to see your success and how you're doing it, because I really believe those little fish bites will work. And they're going. One thing for sure, they're going to stay on the hook a good while. So be aware of that. Also, I want to mention I've got a note here for safety. Last week there was a bad accident over in Shalimar Bridge, and there was 2 girls on a paddleboard, and it was right there dark, and they had lights and all like they should have, but this boater was coming and obviously didn't see them or couldn't slow down, whatever, and they saw the boat about to hit them, and they both jumped off the paddleboard. Well, as you would guess, one of the girls' legs got hit by the prop, and they had to life flight her to Pensacola, and she lost her leg because of the accident. Just a little tragic accident. So, be careful. We mentioned it when Brad was on last week. You have kayakers out there and paddleboarders. So just be careful out there, and sort of go around those people and go way around them. Don't go fast around them either. All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. A quick email I'd like to read to you. Hey, good morning, Winston. Just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be a winner on a drawing on your show. We picked up the fish at Tarpon Dock Seafood, and it is amazing. Also, thank you for the show that we enjoy every morning before we get busy working at Camp Host at the St. Joe State Park. Have a blessed day, Deb and Marty. Glad you enjoyed that fish. Nothing like good fresh fish, and especially they're the campground host at at St. Joe State Park, and they're going to come down also. They rotate state parks, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Also, I want to mention we're talking about pompano. I was talking about fish bites and that's what I'm talking about, fish bites. It still fascinates me. I was talking the other day, someone, a fellow fisherman, I really never heard of them, and anyway, I just want to recommend these. And we're talking about pompano fishing because last week I had some good video on pompano fishing, and the ideal setup. And the last 2 fishing trips I've had, let me mention this, it's been quick trips. I just sort of had to squeeze it in, and I don't like to do that. I don't mind doing that afternoon after work or something because I know you don't have much time, but I've had the last 2 weekends I had to sort of squeeze in a fishing trip, and we had a great time. But the Spanish mackerel trip with the kids, they had to, with Chip's daughters, we had to sort of hurry because they had to get back. They were in a passion play down at Civic Center, so we only had a little certain amount of time to fish. Had a wonderful time doing it, but sort of felt rushed. And then pompano fishing on the surf, at the Cape a week before last, and you saw that video. had an hour and a half I could squeeze in, and I had to check on a lot of, well, you know how busy you get. So anyway, even with that being said, you still can do some quality fishing. We caught fish on both trips, caught some nice fish, and you still, so I want to recommend, even if you don't have an hour and a half or so, you can still go there and have a great time doing it, like we have done the last couple of trips. And, hopefully pretty soon I'm gonna get on a trip where I can just sort of fish all day on a charter boat or something or whatever, just to get out there and relax the whole time. But talking about pompano fishing, people ask me a lot about it, and I do a lot of pompano fishing in the month of April. I say a lot. I plan on doing a lot. So yeah, I've started using fish bites, and I'm still a firm believer also in the sand fleas and the fresh cut shrimp. So these three items, but like I say, the last 2 seasons now I've done this experiment where I've had on the hook rigs, I've had to been able to on 2 hook rig, I'd put the sand flea at the top and the fish bite at the bottom, and I've mixed them all around and flipped them around, and I'm consensus of all my research, I've caught more on the fish bites than I have. And what I like to do now, the last trip I had located those pompano in a hole, and there were three dolphins kept coming in that hole and running them out. I mean, they were right offshore, the hole was, and right off the shoreline. And those dolphins would come in and run them out, and about 15 minutes later, they'd settle down, and I'd catch another one. And then those dolphins, I'd see them 100 yards down there, they'd start coming back. It was the darndest thing, and I could have done a show off just watching those. With that being said, I like to go ahead and put them in the, if I know they're located in a hole, sometimes you have to move around. I like to fish, and you've seen these jigs, okay? I'm going to show you, we talked about Connor's jigs before. Connor jigs right here, these are the sort of dressed up, and this is a young man from outside of Mobile, Alabama, who was paid for his college education making these jigs, and they're good jigs. The original jigs was these right here, sand colored. If you notice, you see the sand color, that's to depict a sand flea. And you can buy these in a package. I'm going to show you the package right here. Fairwaters, they make them like this, and you can buy packages of 3, and they're good, okay? And they're different size. This is sort of a bullet head here. I'm going to show you this other color right here, okay? And again, this is my favorite color, and you get some that sort of have a silver head like right here. I've really never had much luck with these particular ones, and but I've had this one a long time. I fish it a lot, you can see. But these are some of the basic ones that I like to fish. And so what I'm saying, if you do have them located in a hole, then you can still have your surf rod sticking up, but then cast into it, and that's a lot of fun doing that. I know that everybody knows about the Pompano Hole right east of the East Jetties, but you got to get there by boat. You can sort of wade out, but it's just too crowded on weekends to fish it, and that's the same kind of situation. Those guys don't really throw out and let it sit there. They just keep casting. So, and there's some on South Walton. There's some holes over there, and keep in mind those holes actually move around with the waves and action and storms and all we have. Okay, now with that being said, we talked about inventions. The students doing outdoor inventions and all the other day, and what was funny, one of my favorite ones I mentioned on here, but one of the kids wanted to put a knife sharpener at the bottom of the scabbard, so when you pull it out, you sharpen the knife, and when you push it back in, you're sharpening it. And that is such a brilliant idea. I told them go ahead and pursue that. Try to go in and get a patent on that, because that little gadgets like that, you'd be amazed at how they sell. And I also showed them this little knife here. I've showed on the show before, but just a simple invention. This is serrated edges here, so where you can scale. You can scale your fish right here. Okay, you scale it right here, and then this you can flip it around, and you can go ahead and go in and open it up to get the guts out. And I found that when I used to collect old tackle. That was in a tackle box years ago, and I just fell in love with this thing. So I don't know how long it's been out, but it's been very, very successful. So I really like it. Okay, let's go ahead and take our final break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to our final segment here. We appreciate your viewership and hope you're having a good day, and getting a lot of y'all sitting back with a cup of coffee and getting ready to get to work. And some of y'all I hear a lot of feedback from you folks. I really do appreciate it. Let's take a look at the Fish and Game Times for the day, brought to us by Mark Coward of Edgewater Beach Realty. We're looking at 2 different times. We just sort of moved. Remember, last week was around the middle of the day, almost all week long. Now, this afternoon is going to be from 2:06 to 4:06. And then in the morning, it's 2:06 in the morning. This afternoon is 2:35 to 4:35. So it's about 12 hours apart and all. Now we got a lot of stuff coming on now in springtime, and I've mentioned some of the stuff at the Biofeeder Center, different guests. There's a big deal this weekend out at Pier Park. Dick's Sporting Goods will be having a tent sale. Legendary Marine is coming out there with their boats and all, and it's going to be Friday from April 24th through 26th, Friday from 12 to 6, Saturday from 10 to 6, and Sunday from 12 to 4. And at the bottom of the poster, it talks about the different lineup, and they've asked me to come out there and set up a little tent, and down on the bottom left, I don't know if you, there's going to be second one, always food and drink. That's always good news. Third one, factory back value pricing, fishing seminars, inshore and offshore. A lot of people always ask me about fishing seminars, and the folks are going to have some out there, and we'll get you the exact schedule later on in the week. And then that fourth one there, Winston Chester, Panhandle Outdoors, have a book signing, and also they've asked me to talk about the fishing history, and also I'll have a tent set up, and I'm going to also bring out some shirts and to sell. I've got people always asking about, you got to know those shirts, and my students drive me nuts almost, Coach, we bring some of those shirts, and some of them have, I've gotten some shirts through their parents and all, but as presents. So anyway, I'm going to have a stack of shirts. I don't have a whole lot of them left. I'm going to bring everything I have left out there. I have some caps you can get. I'll have free decals, Panhandle Outdoor decals, right here, right there, Panhandle Outdoor decals. Folks always ask me about those. Those will be free. I think I have about 20-something of those left. The first 20 people can have them. So I'll be there, and I'm going to talk about it. I'll try to bring some old fishing tackle too, and just have a good time. And I'll be on Saturday. I think it's at around 11 o'clock. We'll talk more about it during the week, but you can go ahead and put that on your calendar. I think you'll really enjoy that. I'm looking forward to it. I want to thank Mark Coward for getting that all going and all, and folks there at the Sporting Goods store. Now, want to go. Speaking of things being busy, Thursday of this week, I will be taking, along with my fellow worker, Coach Wilkie, we're going to go ahead and take a chance. The weather's going to be okay, hopefully. We're going to take our annual field trip to the Panama City Beach Pier, taking our outdoor kids on a field trip of fishing off the pier. Now, here's the thing about it. I'm trying to limit it to 70. I already got 75, and some of them are waiting in line. So y'all say a prayer for us that we'll make it out there okay and all. I say that not in jest too, because those kids they get excited and they're casting those gotcha plugs, and it's a free field trip. They're just amazing. You mean, Coach, this don't cost anything, and they're gonna let our school out there, and we're paying for buses ourselves. And the kids, I told them I want them to bring a gotcha plug or a silver spoon. So if y'all are out there in that area, you want to stop by and see, or you want to stop by and help a little bit for an hour or so, we're going to probably fish from probably 9 to 12, something like that, 9 to 12. And we're going to try to catch some Spanish. I'm also let some of them try to do some pompano fishing. But it has not, they have not caught a lot of pompano off the pier. They've done real good. And we'll try to catch some kings too. So we might rig up some kings. I have 30 rod and reels, and we're going to get rigged up. So anyway, that's something that we're looking forward to this week. So if you're out in that neck of the woods, want to stop by and pay us a visit and help out, or just watch your kids, I think you really will enjoy. You're welcome to come be with us. Don't forget also this week, Earth Day is Wednesday of this week. We're going to be planting trees. I got my kids in groups, and we're going to be planting trees. I know you plant trees on Arbor Day, but I believe in planting them on Earth Day also. And a lot of people be cleaning up, doing different things, and some activities this past weekend had Earth Day going. Beach driving. On that video I had talking about when I went pompano fishing the other day on Cape San Blas, I do have a beach driving permit, and you can only go in if you have a permit, which property owners can get one. You can get one if you're out of town also, but they're more expensive. But it's sort of limited access. You only can go in a few places, and I've always had mixed emotions about driving on the beach. I'm not a big beach driver. Years ago, we had dune buggies back, didn't know any better. We'd drive over dunes and all, but right, we found out real quick that ain't good. So that had been done. The St. George Island used to have dune buggy. I still have pictures of back in the 60s, dune buggy races going through the dunes at St. George Island, but there were only like 5 or 6 houses down there. And they had a course set up and a darndest thing, and these dune buggies jumping and everything. But that we didn't do that real long, but it was a lot of fun watching, and I had a good friend that had his dune buggy, a boy named Greg Goodman. So anyway, I'm not crazy about driving on the beach, but now they have beach access points where you can go in at one area, and then you can just go down the beach. I don't like to do a lot of it. When I do it, it's usually early in the morning when there's hardly any people on the beach down there. I certainly don't do it on weekends because of the crowd. I just don't like driving around people, and not just for safety, but for aesthetics and all. When I'm out there fishing, I don't like to turn around and see people driving up down the beach. So it is a limited time on driving on the beach. So anyway, be aware of that we only do it a few times, and if you do it. Now, I have an article here talking about campground hosts. I think I've got time to cover it. The Florida Forestry Service and the State Park System are asking for volunteers for camp hosts in the Apalachicola National Forest area. There's a good little story here out of the Liberty Calhoun County Journal, and I wanted to share it with you. Here are some spots they need for campground hosts. Now, if you're a campground host, you get to stay at a campground free of charge, free power, free all the hookups and all. And they just ask you to do around 25 to 30 hours a week, but it's really simple stuff where you're greeting visitors and answering questions and just little odd and end things. And I've talked to campground hosts before, and they just sort of, people have a problem with something, or they'll come ask you what to do, and you just sort of there. And we have a lot of campground hosts who come down here from different areas and stay at our local state parks. This is over in the Apalachicola National Forest. It's a different area. So the 4 places they need them in, and one of them is Camel Lake Recreation Area in the forest, and I've been there before. Beautiful place, Camel Lake. Second place is Whitehead Landing off the Ocklawaha River. Amanda Whitehead, let me know if that's the same area y'all are in down there. I didn't realize it was a state park now, or I didn't realize that. They said it had a concrete landing, so that would be neat to go there. Also, the other one, that the Hickory Landing, I don't know, I've never been to Hickory Landing, but then the last one is Fort Gaston. Fort Gaston is really a nice place. A lot of history of Fort Gaston on the Apalachicola River. It goes back to 1812, the history there. So if you want to be a campground host, get a hold of the Florida Forest Service or State Park and find out about what they have. Okay, don't forget Tuesday night shootouts at Deer Point Lake. They're on this week. Okay, I got to get out of here. Thank y'all so much. You plan on having a great day today and have a great week. And always, as I ask you to do something good for your fellow man, and you're just a better person for that. Have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.